In this video, we're going to talk about the best bikes for an adult man or woman to get into dirt bikes. Stick around. I'll tell you what though, you don't even have to go out and buy a new dirt bike, because see this bike over here? This is the KTM 250 XCW TPI. This is the bike I'm giving away for the price of a t-shirt. See this shirt? I've got shirts over at dirtbikechannel.com. If you head over there right now, you can buy a shirt and be entered to win that bike. It's a 2018 KTM 250 XCW. It's a fuel injected bike. It's awesome, amazing, amazing, amazing. Go over to dirtbikechannel.com right now and enter to win that bike. As with many things in life, there are sometimes no right or wrong answers. There's certainly no like ultimate, this is the only bike or this is the very best bike that you can buy in order to get into this sport. But I do feel comfortable saying that there are some definite bikes to avoid. These are the wrong bikes for you to have. I think the wrong bike for you to get into this sport and do exactly what I did, because I did it wrong, is to go out there and buy the biggest motor, the most powerful dirt bike that you can get. I'm talking about the 450 motocross bikes. Those are terrible, terrible bikes to begin with. Any bike that has more displacement than 300 cc's for a beginning dirt bike is probably not a good idea. I mean, seriously, I can't think of a good reason why I would ever recommend a 450 or a 500 to a beginning dirt bike rider. If you're getting into this as an adult, and I know it's a whole nother subject to talk about what are some of the best bikes to have as for your kids. And kids have varying ages and varying heights and varying sizes and weights and all these things. So I'm not going to cover the kid bikes in this video. What I am going to cover though are those adult men, because I know you're out there. I get emails like this every week. Kyle, I'm looking for my first bike. I'm getting into this sport. What should I buy? So I wanted to do a video kind of covering this topic. Now, what I will say is for most adult men that are getting into this, and also adult women that are getting into the sport of off-road dirt biking like you see here on this channel, probably the best thing that you could do is go out there and buy an affordable, and for some people that might be a new bike, for other people that's going to be a used bike, but go out there and buy an affordable 125 two-stroke or a 250 four-stroke. Now, why do I say that? Way too often as people get into this, they think they need the biggest, the best. They see what the motocross and the supercross racers are riding, and they're thinking, I'm going to get that bike so that I can future-proof and so that I don't have to grow out of it, because that'll be the only bike. If I buy this one bike, it'll be all I ever need. Well, the problem is you buy that bike, you're going to have way too much motor, and you're going to have a bike that you're literally it's going to eat you alive. What we need as beginning dirt bike riders is a bike that isn't going to beat us up and isn't going to eat us for breakfast. We need a bike where if we twist the throttle, it's not going to like dump us on our butt. And a 125 two-stroke or a 250 four-stroke fits that bill very perfectly. So let me give you a couple of ideas for different bikes that you should be looking for as a beginning bike to get into this sport. I'm gonna break it down into two different categories. Number one category is going to be trail. If your main purpose is to go out there and do trail riding, where you're just going to kind of be putting down the trails and you want to get into this sport a little bit slower, there's the trail riding category, and then I'm going to give a second category, which is the more race oriented. Now, I'm not saying that you have to go out, these bikes are only race bikes. I'm just saying that there's some bikes that are more trail oriented, and then there's other bikes that are more race oriented. Now, you can still ride those race bikes. I prefer the race bikes because they have the best of everything, and then they do handle the speed a little bit better. But anyway, so those are my two categories. There's the trail oriented and the race oriented. Trail oriented bike suggestions. Number one, Honda CRF 250X. The X version is the enduro or trail version of this bike. If you go onto Honda's website, you'll see it there. They've been making this thing for years. It's absolutely bulletproof. The Honda CRF 250X is a fantastic starter bike. It's got plenty of power. It can go fast, it can go slow, and it's forgiving. It's very forgiving. It's got electric start, it's got a Kickstarter, it's got all the bells and whistles that you need, and you'll be able to ride that bike for years and years. Another one, Yamaha WR250. It's just the Yamaha WR250. I've got too many names in my mind. The Yamaha WR250 is the Yamaha analog to that Honda CRF 250X. It's also phenomenal. Completely bulletproof. It probably has better it has better forks than the Honda, and so unless you have a really good reason, you should look hard at that Yamaha because it's got great front forks. It's going to have electric start. It's going to have a kick start, and it's going to be bulletproof. Those are great bikes. I know a ton of people that ride the WRs and love them. So look for those. That would be my two best suggestions for your first dirt bike as you're an adult male or a woman getting into dirt bikes. Is one of those two trail-oriented bikes. Now, let's move on to the more race-oriented bikes. So the two, I'm gonna give you a few suggestions here. And keep in mind that this is not an exhaustive list. This is just a couple of suggestions for some more race-oriented beginner bikes. First one is gonna be the Yamaha YZ125. They've been making this bike for ages, and it is also bulletproof. The YZ125 is a full-size bike with full everything that you need. And it's got great front forks, and it doesn't have too much power because it's a 125. Now, a 125 will still pull around a 200-pound man. I have been riding with some of my buddies when they've been riding 125s and 150s, and they can smoke me. It's not the Indian, it's the Arrow. It's not the bike, it's the rider. You know, so those 125s are great. They will help you to learn really good clutch control and help you to learn to use the power of the motor. And guys like Shane Watts, who are some of the best riders ever, they say a 125 two-stroke is their favorite bike to ride because it doesn't have too much power and they can maximize its potential. I can't maximize the potential of a 125 two-stroke. There's a ton there. So that'd be a great bike to start out on. Another bike that you might want to take a look at is like a KTM 150 XCW or the 200 XCW. They don't make the 200 XCW anymore, but that is a fantastic bike. It's got a little bit more low end than what the YZ125 has. The big gripe with the YZ125 is that it has motocross gearing, and so it's going to have a tall first gear. It's going to be a little bit trickier for you to ride in the technical stuff. But if you've got kind of a wide open place to learn and you've got fast and flowing trails and places like that, the YZ125 is still going to be totally fine for you to ride on. But that XCW is going to give you the KTM 150 XCW or the 200 XCW is going to give you a wider ratio transmission, and the first and second gear that's lower is going to be advantageous for you to learn and to cut your teeth on. So a 150 XCW, a 200 XCW, in the Husqvarna line, you can look for a TE 150. Or the TE200. I'm not sure if they made the TE200. So the KTM and the Husqvarna lines, those are also good. They're interchangeable. If you can find a 200 two-stroke from Husaberg or Gas or any of these other ones, that would also be a great bike to start on. Another bike, and those are two-strokes. All those ones that I mentioned are two-strokes. A four-stroke starter bike that is a phenomenal bike, and I wish I would have started on, is a KTM 250 XCF. Those bikes are unbelievable. People overlook them because they think it doesn't have enough power for them. They're wrong. Unless you're just going to the sand dunes and riding in deep sand, a 250 four-stroke is going to have plenty of power. And personally, the KTM 250 XCF is my favorite four-stroke in the KTM line. I really love those 250 four-strokes. And so so you kind of have to say, well, what class do I want to be in? Do I want to start out with more of a trail-oriented bike? Or do I want to start with more race-oriented bike? And it doesn't matter if you're going to race, because you can race either one. You can go out there and you can race. You can enter a race on a Honda CRF 250X. Anyway, I'm not into the whole racing scene. I don't do racing competitively. But at least that gives you a couple of ideas of some bikes that you can look at. Trail-oriented versus race-oriented. Again, this isn't an exhaustive list. I'm just giving you some suggestions to get into it and get thinking. The bikes that I suggested are certainly good choices for you. Your size and weight might make it so that you are going to choose something different. Like some guys out there are going to say, well, Kyle, I'm 300 pounds or 350 pounds. I've had people tell me that. What bike do you suggest now? And I say, hey, you can start off with a 252 stroke or even a 300 two-stroke. It's not going to be the end of the world if you do. And those bikes, a 252 stroke or a 300 two-stroke is going to have more than enough power to pull you up all those hills, and you're going to be able to handle that just because you're a bigger person, you know? So if you're in my weight range though, anywhere from 150 to 200 pounds, even up to 225, I strongly suggest that you start out with either a 125 two-stroke or the 250 four-stroke, and that's going to save, you're going to have better habits, it's going to save you down the road, and the whole dirt biking experience for you is just going to be better because you're going to be starting off on a solid foundation and not getting your arms ripped off and not getting thrown on your butt like on like a 450 or something like that. So just take it from please try to learn from my mistakes. I did it the wrong way. I ended up with a 450 as my first real dirt bike, and what a mistake that was. So anyway, leave down in the comments what you guys think about what should be your first dirt bike. And please remember to like these videos, share, smash the like button down there. Share these videos with your friends, subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you in the next video. Thanks, guys.